Welcome to The Crystal Effect. I'm your host, Crystal Appleby, and I'm here to share honest, wild truths I've learned through being a practitioner for myself and others on this crazy journey of life, career, and relating. I'm not crazier, braver, bolder, or more experienced than others. Rather, I do believe I'm here to share with a deeper level of honesty than most. It's just who I am. Superficiality and mediocrity are pure boredom here, and I do believe the deepest truths and depths of our soul will set us and others free. With an allergy to anything withheld in connection and conversation, we're going to dive right into any limits or lies we tell ourselves, pierced through the mediocrity or fears of diving deep into the truth. I hope to give you an opportunity to reactivate your knowing and zeal for living, rather than to be triggered, squander life and joy, and shrink away out of my energy field. But as always, choice is yours. Let's dive in. Today goes out to the practitioners, people in my world, in the wellness space, in the health industry, and also to the clients that deserve an apology from all of us. The shit-talking and superiority games between the health and wellness practitioners are such a disservice to everyone, to practitioners, clients, and the industry itself. If we don't move as a collective, we are and have become the fragmented fix-it system that we claim to be the support, the alternative, the turn-to for our people. The very thing that we have been shit-talking, the thing that we went to school for, took our training for, the thing that we say we're here to be of service and impact for, the thing that we are dedicating our lives to, I'm here to call all of us out, myself included, and say that if you've built a piece of marketing around what other practitioners are doing wrong, this is for you. If you've sat in a client call or a treatment room with somebody and spoke down to advice they got from another practitioner, this one's for you. We love to complain about the Western medicine being a fix-it system. We love to say that we have the root cause. We address the root cause, not the branch. I see it in everybody's marketing. It's become such a basic bitch approach to marketing. But the thing is we all think we have a root cause system. We all think we're addressing it at the root. We all think we're unique. We all call ourselves trying to stand out and say, I do things differently in my corner of the internet or my corner of the space. I stand out. I'm unique. And I'm here today to just try to cut through to the truth of what's happening underneath and why we all need to call ourselves forward to do better and start to be a collaborative, connected industry that supports, that has hard conversations, instead of blasting out to the internet what we like to judge, what makes us feel superior, what puts us on a pedestal, either for ourselves or others, as much as we might say that we don't belong on a pedestal. Whenever we're doing this, whenever our core messaging becomes, having to speak about what the other is doing to make ourselves rise, we're part of the problem. Today's episode is really a call out to all of us to just go deeper into the truth. I have done this countless times. I'm not trying to judge, but also at the same time, sometimes we need to sit and judge ourselves a little deeper, because it's so much easier to connect, to sell, and to feel good about ourselves when we can sit and have a rant or a tangent and have other people connect and say, wow, I feel so heard. Wow, you're so right. Wow, I see this all the time too. Wow, thanks for speaking to this. But the truth is, sometimes the deepest connections we make are actually toxic as fuck. Sometimes the clients that we say are our ideal clients are actually people who are just buying into the same storyline we are and reiterating the same mentality, mindset, frequency that's keeping us stuck. And in return, we're actually keeping them stuck. So I think we've already dove in. But this is something that I've been sitting with and mulling with and wondering, how do I speak to this without just being a part of it? Because I see it all over the space. Online, I see it in my treatment room, people coming in, and I feel it. People come in, they show me this protocol they're on, and in my mind, I'm thinking, this is shit. This is a Band-Aid approach. These products are full of junk. Or I have these thoughts of like, yeah, great. They're making a bunch of money off of selling these supplements or this or that and keeping them on this protocol that in my mind isn't the answer. But what I really have been trying to do is stop myself and dive deeper into myself and say, like, what is this trigger in me that's so upset that this person's on this? Like, do I really know best here? Is this really my expertise, my mastery? And is it really of service right now for me to share this frequency that actually makes my client receive less results, less clarity, and less potential to move forward in a really holistic approach to their health and their wellness and their happiness and that journey? What if we started sitting at the tables with the same people that trigger us and opening the conversation to them instead of going to social media? It's so easy, and I did this for years, to hop on a story and say, you know what really grinds my gears? Have a really great hook. I know the marketing. We've all bought the business coaching, the whatever that sells us the hook, shows us how to sell, how to catch people's attention, who your ideal client is. But I think the real work is like continually every day, all of us doing our own piece of deep diving of, if I wasn't getting paid $1 for this, if I wasn't trying to attract clients, if I was just in my joy and doing my service in the world, is this the way that I would be speaking? Is this the way that I would be treating others? Is this the way that I would be having conversations about people and to people? And is it in the most integrity for me to do it on this platform, in this treatment room, with this other practitioner that has the same belief system as me? Or is it more appropriate to open a conversation with the very person, industry, field, whatever, that's pissing me off, that I think is genuinely doing a disservice to its clients, to its patients, to the practitioners that they're training, the mentorship relationship? I see so much going on that I don't like out there. But is it really my business to go blast about that shit? Or is it my business to turn inward and say, but do I truly believe that there has to be such a diversity of practitioners and people out there to help and support all the different types of people out there? And can I trust that each person, hopefully, is sitting with themselves and trying to constantly evolve and see a bigger picture, and that they will bump into the right people in their life to be of the best service that they can be and to serve in the best way that they're supposed to be? I used to have a real beef with physiotherapists, maybe other industries as well, but this one comes up for me because, first of all, there's like this whole dichotomy between dry needling and acupuncture, and it starts in school. My teachers told me what a sham, how physiotherapists shouldn't be doing dry needling, how it's not real acupuncture. It's a joke. It should be illegal for them to put needles in people, and so on and so forth. And there would be other clinics in town that people would say, oh, I went there and they had like research articles out there explaining why dry needling was superior to, TCM acupuncture, this or that. You would hear clients will always, always, always come back to you. If somebody's if you're shit talking to your clients about other people in the community, in the industry, and so on, there's a very good chance they're going and telling that to other people. And there's a very good chance that you're losing respect as a result. Because at the end of the day, most people go to school, invest in their education, invest in themselves because they want to help people. Let's just be real. It selfishly feels really fucking good to be in a profession where you get to help people, where people come in and say like, wow, that was magic. You fixed me. It's so easy to buy into that and hold that and take weight on that and go home and be like, wow, I put 3 needles in this person today and I healed them. But it's all, part of your practitioner journey to realize that that's a farce and that you're not healing them, and that hopefully you're just doing your job and doing your own work continuously that makes you a more clear channel and more potent practitioner, that you can cut through the noise, cut through all the clutter in what's in front of you and do the best job that you can possibly do while not attaching to the outcome when it's really high or it's really low. It doesn't determine your worth, but that's a whole journey a practitioner has to go through. That's a whole journey that hopefully we're giving grace to each one around us that's going through that journey. Can we start to stop calling each other out through behind the lens, behind the screen, and start creating spaces where it's safer to have hard conversations and open conversations with each other, which is calling me forward to say, how do I create a space where it's like, the personal trainers, the physios, the chiros, the people in my community, whether it's locally or not, can come together for say a retreat or something, and the judgments just like go to the side, and we have open discussions on how can we create a unified system where people are actually getting not just better, but are learning to experience vitality, joy, health, happiness. To me, health is becoming this version of you where, first of all, I see it in your eyes, but you emanate a joy. There's a truth that like I am living connected to myself. I'm not living a version of the 10 practitioners around me and their beliefs and the supplements and the modalities and whatever mindsets and values that they believe in and are trying to embody. But I am living my own truth because the people around me and that I decided to invest with and who hold a space for me to maintain that vitality, that they have helped crack open a deeper part of me that I didn't know existed, and that I maybe couldn't access that level of health and happiness, and found a way to make the changes in a way that they stick and hold, and I don't have to constantly revert back to old patterns or have to keep going for sessions for the rest of my life just to experience some pseudo health. I ask this as a question because I don't have all the answers. I can't, fix what I see as broken on my own, but I can every day wake up and look in the mirror and say, how do I help bring us back together in a way that serves my people in one little way today? So I really just want us to start not putting anyone or ourselves on a pedestal, but also not putting anybody, on the ground and throwing dirt in their face for being human. Because the truth is, our clients, our patients, our family, our friends need access to the wisdom that we've spent years, not just in school, but for me, it's like finding the best mentors that I've seen in the world in North America and seeking them out and spending the money and the time to absorb from somebody who can make my trip and my journey as a practitioner in my own life, can make that a shorter, simpler, less rocky road. So we have all this wisdom, but what good is it if we want to hold it tight to ourselves because we need our high ticket clients or, the people who deserve to be in close proximity to us to have access to it? Or if we share it with too many people, then we'll become irrelevant. Like, that's such a flawed system and such a shame to an industry that is just growing every day. But if we just start to capitalize on that, then we are in the same position as big pharma and as, these industries that I look at and am repulsed by. But you have to do a really deep dig with yourself and say, am I any better? And how can I hold myself to a higher standard where I can have hard conversations, where I can reach out to a practitioner and say, my client shared this with me that they're on this. I'm having a hard time understanding. I'd love to know. What they're on this for, why this was a choice, without a frequency of judgment, of just trying to understand. Because the idea that we know best for our clientele and whatever, and that there's nothing else out there that can support them or amplify their journey and can be used in conjunction with, or the idea that, peptides and all this other shit is dumb and bad, just as, it's just another fix it. You never know the reasoning why somebody's doing something. There's a time and place for all of it. I see people out there saying like that they want their energy drinks. They're still going to drink. They're still going to do that. And I'm just like, for me, macros isn't macros. And that's where I lie. But I'm not going to sit here and say like, they don't know what they're talking about. No, they're working with a clientele that needs that. I'm at a place in my life where I know the difference in quality of food, in what I'm putting in my body, and I know the tolerance that my body has for certain things, and I no longer choose I don't want the same kind of balance as somebody else. And of course, I'm not going to attract the type of people that person is, and that's fine. But how do we create a system where I have somebody come in that's not aligned for me, and I know that they're going to feel judged if they work with me long term, or they're going to feel like I'm asking too much of them or whatever. But how do we all become the type of people that say, if this is what you're looking for, there's this person who's really great, and they have, they have similar values to you. How do we do that from a place where we're not like, wow, I'm such a good person, I referred somebody out, but just genuinely like, we are all so different. We are all so unique. And I don't understand this person's point of view that they've taken to business, but I know there's people out there getting great results with them. And I have the discernment to say that that's a better use of their time and money. And how do we create a circle where we all are not in competition with each other or trying to bounce off of each other to make ourselves feel better? And we become this network that clients can truly trust, that when they land in that network, when they land in that web of knowledge, that they get access to all of it through the interconnectedness of us, because that's the only hope we have at helping and, starting to, quote, fix this massive problem we have, this massive disconnect people have with their bodies and their health. People are coming in with real issues, like massive inflammation that's chronic things that they don't think that they can't see a way out of. They aren't getting answers. They're going to 10 different practitioners and appointments, and they're exhausted, and everybody's contradicting each other because everybody's so bought into their own beliefs and values and education that it would terrify the shit out of them to give that all up and humble themselves to the point of saying, I don't know what's best, but I'm going to trust that if I surrender my strong beliefs, my triggers, and I just keep working and surrendering on who I am as a person and where I get triggered and what I don't like, and I keep sitting with all those pieces and trying to understand them instead of projecting and reacting them out to the world for a sale, for validation, for whatever. That's what's happening on social media, whether you like it or not. And that's a big part of why I've stayed pretty silent. I don't want to buy into that anymore. I don't like what's happening. I don't like how everyone's saying, buy back more of your time. Fix your health. Like, I have the solution. This is why it hasn't been working. This is why everything else you've been doing hasn't been working. But yet you're selling them the same thing in a different package with different wrapping paper, and not realizing that you're a part of the same problem, that you're not that unique. Of course, we all have unique gifts, and we're all great. We all have our own mastery in some way. But we're all reiterating the same bullshit. And if you think somebody's stealing something from you, or they got the idea from you, you did the same thing, whether you had the intention or not. You got it from a mentor, you got it from somewhere, you took a little frequency that was yours, got creative and played with it, and packaged it and sold it again. There is no one that's really that unique. We're all meant to be interconnected to support and help humanity become better, to have, get back to our roots of actually having real health, real wealth. But if we all stay in our own lane, which is what a lot of people are saying, like, just stay in your lane. But it's like, okay, yeah, we all stay in our mastery and our, but if we're missing the piece where we're actually meant to be a connected, relating society, then we're fucking it all up. And this can extend to, parenting. People do the same thing. If you're going to sit there and judge how other parents are doing it, how whatever industry, career, family members, whatever, it really all comes back to the same thing. How willing are you to sit with your own shit and realize that you're just sitting here? We're all projecting shit out. It's so much easier to find a judgment on how somebody else is doing it than to sit with ourselves and say, wow, I'm judging myself for how I'm doing it. Wow, I need that external validation, or those likes, or those comments, or this many people to sign up to make me feel worthy in my career and like I've made it. to create that version of success so I don't feel like a failure. It's so much deeper than that. And we're meant to be connected so much wider than that. I hear it, people who have left the acupuncture industry and do whatever, speaking or events or this or that, or have created high ticket offerings around, but using that knowledge. I've heard them say, it's just that if you're going into a treatment room where people are that room's being flipped over, then the energy in that room is leaking from client to client or whatever. And it's like, okay, sure. But there's still this judgment of like what I'm doing is more unique and better than what others are doing. What if we cut all of that noise? Because you don't know what I'm doing in my treatment room between clients. If I'm clearing the energy, you don't know the conversations I'm having, and how I've intentionally created my space in a way that feels right for me. And it doesn't negate or downplay the effects and benefit that I can create in a room if I'm hands-on doing my service and my work and my impact, just because I'm not following a business model that a business mentor taught me, that somebody taught them, and so on, to buy into high ticket sales, because it's not serving my soul in this season. And inversely, that's serving them and their service in this season of their life. And that isn't lesser than what I'm doing. But of course, you can hear it in my voice in this whole episode. Of course, I have my own judgments. Of course, that's why I have stepped away from socials, from my podcast. I no longer want to sell people something based on judgment or putting somebody down or saying that I'm doing it better, I know better. But that's something that's a lifelong journey. And it's okay to say like, oh yeah, one of my mentors, Hyla, who I worked with for probably a year and a half, taught me and ingrained and helped me embody the fact that like judgment isn't the devil. Judgment is showing us what's in alignment and what's not. If you walk into a room and you're instantly judging people, it is probably showing you like you might not belong in that room, but you cannot belong in that room and still go sit with the mirrors that are being held up about yourself in that room. You can sit at tables and have conversations. Doesn't mean you're going to go for dinner with those people every week and have to become, the closest of friends, but you can open the conversation and still be a caring, compassionate human practitioner. Because if you can only hold space for the practitioner for the hour they're in that room, and then you have to go vent to somebody or shit talk another practitioner or a method or say this is a joke or that, there's a deep insecurity and unworthiness in yourself. And if you're not willing to look at that, I just don't think that we get to access our full joy in this life, because we're always going to be in a mind prison. And with that, I think we'll wrap it up. I'll end with, and we have to have compassion for ourselves in all of it. Compassion for the places I look back and I'm like, I really fucked some things up in my practice. I really wish I could go back with some clients, with some practitioners, but that's the journey. And my old boss would always say, that's why it's called a practice. We have to have compassion and grace for ourselves, especially if we desire for our clients to have that same compassion and grace. If we desire for other practitioners, other people are going to look at what we've done or hear from clients what we did in a treatment room, and they may have no context, but they also might be right. It might be like, holy shit, like what did she do? If you want other people to have grace and compassion and love and appreciation for you as a practitioner, for you in whatever role in your life, then we have to step up and give it to ourselves and give it to others and stop the dialogue of, what really pisses me off? Like, let's stop all these hook lines and selling that are based around one thing. Yes. This whole thing of being based around putting others down or knowing better or being more unique or more special or more whatever. And the second thing I would say, stop selling based on, assuming that your clients are broken. This is a big one I learned the last few years, is like traveling to different places where I would potentially start another business and realizing those people didn't have those same imbalances emotionally and physically because their environment was so different and so much more aligned to their lifestyle. And as I spent more time in those places and I shifted, I thought, who am I as a practitioner and what value am I to them if they're not, quote, broken, if I don't see them through the lens of what's wrong with them anymore? And then bringing that back to my own practice and stop seeing my clients as like a problem to fix. They are not a problem to fix. If we get to hold a container and be a part of a journey that they choose, that they want to take,
beautiful. But if we see them as broken, they're going to see themselves as broken. And our practice can only grow. Your business can only grow to a place where people are always going to need you to fix them. That comes with a lot of responsibility and a lot of projection that's going to happen, good and bad. So what if we start seeing our clients as whole? When they come to us, great, they want support. They're not broken. They don't need fixing. All I've ever seen with people, not all that I've ever seen, but all that's ever been there with, people, they just need some uncovering support to like declutter what's going on in their life, their environment, maybe physically declutter their space, break it back to the simplicity. What are we doing when we need people to have 10 practitioners? One for this kind of body work, one for this, one for their nutrition, one for their supplements, one for their blood work, one for blah, 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 blah. They all have value, but the average person doesn't have time for all this. And it's our job, I think, to bridge that gap.
Thanks for joining us today. That is it. Be courageous, be bold, let anyone down but yourself along the way as you confidently activate or trigger the correct players in your pinball game. And with an open and defined heart, I encourage you to go forward with curiosity and create the depth and satisfaction in the entirety of your life, the entirety of your career, the entirety of the relationships that your soul came here craving, seeking, destined to create.